From a first-party perspective, Nintendo's launch lineup has been pretty underwhelming, with choppy third-party ports like Rayman 3DS being a commonplace at launch. Consumers have every right to be wary at the counter. Thankfully, this time around, one company has got it right.
Well then, let's begin. Go on then. No problem.
If you haven't already guessed, this is Super Street Fighter 4 3D on the Nintendo 3DS. For the most part, this title is a straight port of the 2010 enhanced re-release, but that's not to say changes haven't been made. There are actually quite a few new features that only the Nintendo 3DS could pull off. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Super Street Fighter 4 itself, since it's nearly a year old now. All you need to know is that Super Street Fighter 4 brought back the Street Fighter magic. If you've ever played a Capcom fighting game in the past, chances are it will be almost immediately accessible to you, with all the sways and swoops to do special moves rather than the complex button inputs. But there's more to it than just throwing Hadoukens, as timing combos plays a huge part in the title. Super Street Fighter 4 has a roster of 35 playable characters. While some may seem to play similarly to others, many of them have their own unique twists that make playing them significantly different. Basically, it's an awesome fighting game that was a huge step in reviving the fighting game scene in the eyes of the mainstream. If you dislike the Street Fighter style, then Super Street Fighter 4 will do nothing really new for you. If you like the Street Fighter style, you've probably been playing the original release since 2009. Most of the footage here isn't actually me physically playing. Trying to keep the 3DS perfectly still while playing a fighting game is nearly impossible, so instead I use my super mental skills, also known as CPU versus CPU mode, to bring you this footage. I'm busy over there playing Phantasy Star Zero. Hi Ben. How's that Phantasy Star Zero going? Good. Is it the best DS game ever? Fantastic.
Don't contemplate, perceive.
So the question is, does the Nintendo 3DS version and its features complete or enhance the experience? The first thing many will probably notice, and may already hate, is the light control scheme. Essentially, you map character attacks to the touchscreen, as you can see right here. Don't know how to Hadouken? No problem! Simply map it to your touchscreen and smash that button.
Hadouken! 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 Hadouken!
I'll have my revenge!
Can you stand up after that?
This may be considered the C-Stick smash of the Street Fighter series, but it does make the title immediately more accessible. Right out of the gate, you can be immediately a threat to other players, and it is completely customizable as you can map everything from a simple light punch to ultra combos to the touchscreen.
My fight money!
This feature alone is almost a game changer to newcomers. There's less of a focus on learning button inputs and more of a focus on timing. Even if you can do impressive feats at the touch of the screen, if you don't know how to time it, you'll end up face flat on the ground. If you view this control scheme as an unfair handicap, you can choose to filter out players online who use it. But the light mode isn't just for newbies though. The Nintendo 3DS has no fight stick. The control scheme feels heavily cramped. And while the 3DS does offer the option to play either using the D-pad or circle pad, neither of them are sufficient enough for precise controls. The Nintendo 3DS's D-pad is tiny and in an awkward position, making it hard to do the swoops around on the D-pads for special moves. The analog slider is unpredictable, which isn't exactly ideal in a fighting game. The touchscreen controls ensure that important moves will go off without fail. It's a nice crutch and still requires at least some skill in terms of the timing. The second big but actually uneventful feature is the Street Pass mode. Whereas Nintendo's 3DS built-in Street Pass Quest is a huge part of the platform itself, Street Fighter's Street Pass features are relatively underwhelming. While playing, you earn points to buy figures. You can pit these figures against other Super Street Fighter 4 3DS owners, earning more points to buy more figures. The cycle goes on and you can tweak your team, but it's easy to lose interest after a few passes. And finally, the last big addition to the title are the 3D effects. I've played a few 3DS titles now, and their 3D effects have been underwhelming. Super Street Fighter 4 basically puts the fighting arena inside your 3DS, and is the most impressive implementation of the 3D I've seen so far. It's both easy on the eyes and effective. You're going to want to push the 3D slider up to max. Not even Nintendo has pulled off 3D visuals nearly as well as Capcom has done here, and it's a visual finesse you can't find on any other version of Super Street Fighter 4. If you want to see what the 3DS has to offer in terms of the 3D effect, Super Street Fighter 4 is the title to go with. Unfortunately, the presentation is a mixed bag. The backgrounds are painfully bland with absolutely no animations and some rather basic models. They're not really noticeable when you're fighting, but when the game stops for either a cutscene or an ultra move, it is hard to overlook the soulless backgrounds. The CG and anime cutscenes out of the game are also entirely in 2D. But these two facts are almost completely forgivable because it's easy to tell that Capcom focused on the more important things, the characters. Not only do they look almost identical to their console counterparts, but the animation is just as fluid. Considering fighting games are all about the characters, it was essential that Capcom got these models down. Overall, the visuals feel rushed, but Capcom at least nailed down what mattered in time for launch. When it comes down to it, Super Street Fighter 4 is a port. While the 3D is pretty awesome, if you already have the console versions, the $39.99 price point probably won't be entirely worth it. Unless you want Super Street Fighter 4 on the go, it will probably be better to hold off until the console release of Arcade Edition, which features new characters. If you haven't played Super Street Fighter 4 before, or if you were intimidated by the learning curve, the 3DS version definitely delivers the experience while giving you some 3D eye candy to boot. The port does fall on some flaws, but it's a launch title. It's clear that Capcom put out their very best given the time they had, and that deserves a score of an 8.5.
Sonic Boom! Sonic Boom! Sonic Boom! Oh, my fight money!